Hello everyone, I'm Guido Greenbaum and today we are starting Module 26 of the Microcredentials course. This module, More Than a Class, is an invitation to create something real. In the previous modules, we went through the entire journey of microcredentials together, how they are designed, how they are integrated into institutional strategy, and how they connect with employability, mobility, and educational innovation. Now it's time to take the final step, to design and document a real microcredential. This is not a theoretical example, not a simulation, but a credential that your university could issue tomorrow. This project is the turning point of the course because it marks the moment when we stop talking about ideas and start building results, and that is the true spirit of microcredentials. It's not about promises, but about evidence. What you're going to create today will be the first piece of an institutional system, a prototype that can grow, be replicated, and scaled, and that will demonstrate that your institution is ready to recognize 21st century learning. Let's start with a simple but essential question. What competency is worth recognizing? Not all skills should become micro-credentials, only those that are observable, measurable, and transferable. Choose one that has real value, that serves the student, the employer, and the institution. It could be something technical, like basic data analysis, or something transversal, like leadership in hybrid teams. The important thing is that it is concrete and represents the type of learning we want to make visible from the university. Once the competency is defined, we move on to the awarding criteria. What must the student demonstrate to earn the microcredential? How do you know that they really master that skill? The criteria must be clear, measurable, and verifiable. No generic phrases, nothing like participated in the course. A valid microcredential is awarded because the student provided evidence. For example, the student created a data dashboard and explained their analytical process in a report. That is concrete evidence. That's what gives it value. Then comes the time to document the metadata. Every digital credential has a DNA, and that DNA is the data that makes it verifiable. We need to include the issuer's name, credential title, description, criteria, evidence, level, date, and if applicable, the standard or reference framework. Use clear, accessible language, thinking not only of the student, but also of the employer who will read it. If a recruiter understands what you are certifying, you're on the right track. Next comes the visual step, designing the badge. The badge is not just an image, it's a symbolic synthesis of the achievement. It needs to be simple, coherent, and recognizable. Use institutional colors, the logo, and an icon that represents the competency. Nothing overloaded, nothing generic, and accompany it with a brief public narrative. This microcredential recognizes the student's ability to apply effective communication techniques in collaborative environments. Remember, design communicates just as much as text, and a good badge inspires pride, and pride leads to sharing. Once it's designed, it's time for institutional validation. Every microcredential must go through an academic review. Someone must ensure that the content and criteria are consistent. You can present it to a committee or an academic authority, showing its justification, structure, and evidence. Validation is not just a formality, it's what transforms an individual idea into an institutional credential. Now let's talk about the final documentation. The project must include a document with the complete design of the microcredential, the visual file of the badge, and a public presentation text for a web catalog or institutional networks. This set will be your first microcredential ready to be issued, and the best part is it's not just an exercise, it's a real product. Your university could use it tomorrow as a pilot. And why do we do this? Because the only way to learn about microcredentials is by creating them. Theory explains, but design transforms. When you document a complete microcredential, you understand the logic of the ecosystem, the metadata, governance, standards, communication, and you discover that every decision, from the badge color to the wording of the criteria, reflects your institution's philosophy. This module also invites you to think about the sustainability of the system. We don't want isolated credentials, but rather a model that grows in an orderly way. Every microcredential you create should be replicable. It should be able to be integrated into an institutional policy. In this way, this first badge is not an endpoint. It's the beginning of a network that can expand to all faculties, teacher training programs, MOOCs, and even international agreements. A well-designed credential can be the first step toward a complete transformation. Remember that microcredentials are not built in isolation. They require collaboration. Involve your colleagues, the academic department, institutional communications, and instructional designers. The value of this experience lies in working together, Because issuing microcredentials is not just a technical act, it's an act of trust. A university that issues microcredentials is saying, we recognize what you learn, even if it doesn't fit into a traditional diploma. So today, I invite you to do something concrete. Design your first microcredential, name it, define its criteria, design its badge, and document it as if it were part of your university's official catalog. You can use it to recognize a course competency, a teaching achievement, or a transversal skill. The important thing is that it be real, practical, and representative. When you finish, you will understand the entire process and you will have tangible evidence of your learning in your hands. And when all the teams in the course present their projects, we will have something very powerful. A community of universities that is no longer just learning about microcredentials, but actually creating microcredentials. A network of institutions that recognize skills, that are committed to employability, and that are defining what the education of the future looks like. This final project is not just an academic assignment, it is an institutional statement. So we close this module with a simple but profound idea. Designing a microcredential is not just creating a digital diploma. It is designing a new contract between the university, the student, and society. With this credential, with this project, you stop being an observer and become a protagonist in educational transformation. The future of verifiable learning begins today at your university with the microcredential you design. Well, this is the end of this module. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something, and I look forward to seeing you in the next module. Thank you very much.